Good morning, everyone. Welcome. It's Wednesday. It's Wednesday. Yep, it sure is. And it's it's 11. And that means it is time for Elevenses with the reps at Diesel Bookstore. And booksellers, reps and booksellers, every week. As you probably know, if you're tuning in, but if you're new, we get together here in our crowdcast space, and we meet with our wonderful publishers representatives and our fantastic booksellers, and we talk about new, upcoming, recently released, old favorites, titles that we're super excited about, and we have the professionals here to tell us all about them. In case we miss anything. We don't want to miss anything, especially not now, because it is, what is it, everybody? It's holiday season. And it is time for gift giving, and pretty much every single book we've talked about the last few weeks makes a great gift for both yourself and somebody on your list. We've been having such terrific books. It's a really, really great season. So many big, exciting, and wonderful books to talk about. And we have three very exciting and wonderful reps to talk about them today. And we have a fabulous bookseller up there as well. And before I introduce everybody, I want to mention that everything we talk about today will be linked in the chat bar so that you can click on it either now or later. Sometimes we have pre-orders, and you can do that there as well. Or take your time and take a look at it later. And Joey will be behind the scenes posting all of those links and everything we talk about, and the occasional offshoot as well, because we tend to go down literary rabbit holes here. It's fun. And you are welcome to present your own literary rabbit hole over there as well. If you have a question or a comment, or want to add something about any of the books we're talking about today. So there's that. And before we get going, I'm going to tell you about a couple of events that we have coming up in the next week. On Thursday, this Thursday, which is tomorrow, we are welcoming at 6:30 p.m. to Brentwood Richard Christensen with Elise Lowen to discuss and sign Flamingo Estate, The Guide to Becoming Alive. So that is going to be tomorrow at 6:30 at Diesel Brentwood. And then on Sunday, November 24th, this coming Sunday, we've got Freddie Wexler, who's going to be reading and signing Everett Green, The Not So Christmas Tree, which is at 9 a.m. It's early, but it's for the kids. And it could not be more adorable, this book. The Not So Christmas Tree's little palm tree. It's so cute. So if you've got kids, bring them out on Sunday, this Sunday at 9 a.m., the 24th. So there's that. And Joey has very kindly posted the link over here. You can click on it and see all of our events actually coming up, as well as those two I just talked about. Now that we have talked about that, let me introduce everybody who is, double booked, Joey says, on Sunday. Awesome. That is so cute. I mean, you look at the cover of that book, it is too adorable. All right. Joining us today, we have Liz Camfiord from Random House. Hi, Liz. Haven't seen you for a while. Looking forward to hearing about your books.
Hi.
We have the lovely Shannon Grant from Simon & Schuster. Likewise, Shannon, haven't seen you for a bit. And rounding up the lineup, we have Tom Benton from Penguin. Hey, Tom, a returning champion. And up there in Los Angeles, we have Henry. And Henry is our bookseller this week. And he is also joining us. Thank you, Henry. Why don't we get it going with Liz? Why don't you start us off, Liz?
Okay, thanks for joining, everyone. I am going to start by talking about probably our biggest book of the year, biggest nonfiction book of the year at Knopf, Patriot, Alexei Navalny's memoir. Yes, his prison memoir, but also his political coming of age. This covers his whole life. It was available at the end of October. His widow, Yulia, did a great piece on 60 Minutes people might have seen. But I just want to keep talking about this book because obviously in our political climate, it's very important to read about rights and freedom and Putin and Russian history, and it's couldn't be more topical. He began this memoir after his poisoning in 2020. The memoir opens with this harrowing blow by blow account of the poisoning on the flight that he was on. And anyway, it's such a personal book. There's so much in it. And, he died in February. I mean, this is all very recent. He died in February of this year of a blood clot while in prison. He's just such a courageous person, and this is such a beautiful book. His first taste of corruption in Russia. So, he was the head of the Russian opposition party. And his first taste of corruption that was really amazing to read about was after the Chernobyl disaster, where he recounts that, the West, we knew much more about it than family members of his that were living right there. And so it just goes on from there. And his widow very much is taking up the mantle of his freedom fight. So it's still an evolving story, and it's beautiful. It's for sale. I encourage everybody to read it.
I followed Navalny for a long time, so I was really looking forward to. Well, looking forward as I was sad about it,
Right.
but I wanted to read it, and I was really struck by how. Well, I guess that's what it kept him going, sort of this always kind of a dark humor that he had about everything, right up to the end, and almost a lightness, I guess, and a sort of persistent optimism in what he was saying, even while he knew. I mean, he knew what was going on. But you could also, I mean, a lot of people ask, well, why did he go back? He got out and he was out, and could have remained. It was almost. I mean, it was a given that he was going to get arrested as soon as
Yep.
he came back. And I think this book explains that and his philosophy on that as well. It was. I mean, it was hard to read because you know how it turns out. But it was sort of unexpected in that in those instances of like the humor that he maintained.
Yeah, and just his personal life, his childhood, his teenage
Yeah,
years, even his love of music. I mean, it's a full portrait, I feel.
yeah, absolutely. It's a really good book. We had this one. This one went on sale, and it was on sale against another really huge book that we had. I won't say because I don't remember.
I don't
it'll
either.
come, it'll
What
come
is
back
that?
to me in a minute. But this one really flew. That I think a lot of people felt some kind of way about him and what happened, especially now. So it's really well worth getting into, I think, just on a plain like entertaining reading level. So
Yep,
yeah,
I agree.
thanks, Liz. All righty, Shannon. Let's go over to you.
All right. Okay. I did not plan this tie-in because my first book is called Collaborators, which I know that Deborah is a fan of. It is by Michael Idov, and it's a modern, sophisticated spy thriller. And it's I know Deborah's a big fan, but it's an Indie Next pick. It just went on sale yesterday. And it is very much deeply researched. Michael was actually born in Latvia when it was part of the USSR, but he went to college in the States, and then he moved to the States full time. But it's one of those globe-trotting, action-packed. It starts on page one. There's a plane and it's being turned around. But it is about a kind of disenchanted CIA agent who is young and kind of like in the prime of his career, but his assets keep getting taken out, for lack of a better word. And so he's a main character. There's a billionaire's daughter who is the other kind of crux of the story, and it's just really good. It flies, the twists and turns you don't see coming, but I feel like deeply rooted in like all of these things are really happening out there, much to what Liz spoke of. Like it does not feel, none of it feels far-fetched. And there is a lot of humor, and it feels like his writing feels young and fresh. Like it's very much in the like Red Sparrow kind of thing, but the characters are modern, and it feels modern. It has that modern sensibility. So I loved it. I feel like if you pick it up, you won't put it down. I know there's lots of, and Michael lives part-time in LA, part-time in Berlin, and I want to say Portugal. Anyways, he's a globetrotting man, but he's also a screenwriter. And so it very much reads at that clip. And you can, so I see a movie in the future, but I'll have Deborah chime in here because.
Well, I was just going to say that reading it is like watching a really great Netflix show,
Yeah.
And that you can reading it is like binge watching one of these fantastic shows. If you it's not quite as like light as The Diplomat, but I mean it's like a similar vibe. It's sort of compulsively readable in that way, I think. And I read this so long ago, and I saw that it's coming out, and I'm like, has this actually been out already for months? I feel like I've been waiting for it forever, and I did, as you say, I really liked it for all of those reasons that you talked about. It's so satisfying, it's so interesting, it's so smart. It's got such great pacing, and there's the argument that too much of all of this is too much because reality and fiction are blending again. But it is really diverting. It's super entertaining. He just does such a great job here. And I'm always looking for a really smart spy thriller to get into. I mean, what's better than that, really, right?
No, you just from page one sink right into it. And it's funny that you mentioned The Diplomat, because I just finished watching that, and I feel like it's the perfect. Diplomat is a little lighter, but I mean, it's that perfect kind of thing to scratch that itch after.
Exactly. So yes,
out in the world yesterday.
Yes, I loved it. I did. I highly recommend it. Really, although it's sort of topical and you can tie into a lot of things that are happening right now, it's very diverting and entertaining. So, excellent. Thank you, Shannon.
Right.
All right, Tom, what huge release have you got for us today?
I have not a huge release, but an important release. This is Power Metal by Vince Beiser. He is the author of World in a Grain, which was a really good book about the importance of sand in the world. And it was really an eye-opening book. He's very much in the Mark Kurlansky vein, I feel like. He sinks deeply into his subjects. And the environment is a big part of both books. So the new book, there are 60 different metals that go into one iPhone. Most of them I've never heard of, but these rare minerals play a larger and larger role in our lives. The demand increases, and that it's more and more precarious. The supply chain is more and more precarious. And so he's looking at these resources and how they are like the literal foundation of our future. The green revolution will only happen with these resources. However, there are lots of trade-offs that we haven't contemplated. So the book takes him all across the world. He goes to Ghana, where there's the most toxic garbage dump in the world. It takes him to places like that, especially because so far the burden of these things, this technology, is falling on places like Ghana, the developing world, not the U.S., not Europe. So he's examining all of these things. So it's really eye-opening, thoughtful, not didactic, really a balanced look at what is happening and what needs to happen. So it's environmentalism meeting capitalism. And there is a lot to think about, a lot to talk about. And he's asking really hard questions that we don't think about. But if we want the cars we want, if we want more of these things, we're going to have to face this in the near future. So a really powerful piece of journalism, Power Metal by Vince Spicer.
I love Tom always has these books that you didn't know that you really needed to know about refrigeration,
Yeah,
or sand,
exactly.
or right, and then yeah, exactly. Like the refrigeration book was a real surprise as well. But Tom can sell it to you. And now I'm really intrigued. I haven't read this one, but I'm intrigued by it. Does he talk about, or I might be getting this wrong, but there's one particular metal that is like found in abundance, in the deep ocean somewhere, and there's this one. He just talks about that, and there's this guy who is promoting, digging it up or scraping the ocean floor, and it's fine because there's no problem with scraping up the bottom of the ocean floor.
Right. I mean, these are the kinds of things we probably are going to have to the world will grapple with.
Yeah.
I mean, he also talks about the Salton Sea. There's all kinds of minerals that are buried there that will likely be part of this story also. Yeah, so much that we haven't thought about.
Yeah. And that we were absolutely going to need to think about. Like now.
That's what great books can do. They can, take you deep into a subject that, like you say, didn't know about.
Right, exactly. And Liz has posted, it's called Frostbite. I'm sorry. Thank you, Liz. It's called Frostbite. And maybe, Joey, maybe you can post the link to that book, because that is actually, Tom presented it here on Elevenses, but it's worth another look, guys. It's really, I know you don't think you want to know about refrigeration, but it's totally fascinating.
You really do.
Yeah. Thanks, Tom. All right, Henry, we're going to go over to you.
Hello. I have a little bit of an older book, but it has done a re-release recently that I have kept in my brain until the next time I did Elevenses. It's Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. They have done a whole fresh cover run for all 4 of the books in the Southern Reach series. It looks really beautiful. This is just the Annihilation one, and you can see kind of those shimmers along the side of it. They all have that kind of special print on it, so they do shine in a really beautiful way. All of them look incredible. I literally bought all 4 of them the second I saw them. The first one come in. It's a really great book series. It is unsurprisingly a horror series, a little bit on the sci-fi end. Jeff Vandermeer, just in general, I think his writing is incredible. Fun fact about his writing, someone tried, when a lot of authors were getting AI bots recreated of them, someone tried to make an AI of him. And for whatever reason, his writing style just does not translate across. They cannot make an AI that writes in the way that Jeff Vandermeer writes, which I think is just a fun thing about him. Very funny guy.
We should all aspire, writers, to writing in such a way that AI cannot copy us.
Yeah, everyone should aspire to write in a way that is incomprehensible to robots. But the best way I would describe him and his writing is he writes with the environment as a character. He writes kind of what I call environmental horror. And this novel is a really great example of that. A region is covered with a large shimmering dome, and they send a research team in to try and investigate what's happening. First research team comes back, only 1 man survives, so they send in a second one to see what happened to the first team. And it's just this very bizarre, strange world that they find inside this dome. The closer they get to the center, the weirder it gets, kind of indicative by the front cover. And there's no real way to explain how it all works without experiencing it, but it's just really great. It's really beautiful. They made a movie of this one a couple of years back that did a pretty solid job of getting it all across. I just think it's a beautifully written book. He's so weird. I love him so much. And I love the way that he just sinks into the environments of his books.
Amanda has pointed out here that there's a profile with him in the New York Times this past weekend. That's a great read. I haven't read it, but thank you for that, Amanda. And I will also say that, Jeff Vandermeer is great on social media. If you're on social media, he's super interesting. He's very active, very funny, very biting and fun to read in that capacity as well. So just for what it's worth. But I mean, he kind of sells himself in the store these days, so he's just got a huge following. But I appreciate you bringing these up, Henry, because they are just gorgeous, gorgeous jackets as well. So something to revisit if you've already read it. If you haven't, here's a great place to start as well. So,
or a great gift idea for the holidays.
and of course, I was just about to say a great gift idea. So, which you've apparently already gifted yourself, Henry.
Yes.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much. All right, Liz, back to you.
Okay, great segue, because I also have an author that AI cannot replicate. I feel sure of it. That is Haruki Murakami. His new novel, First in 6 Years, is just on sale yesterday. Midnight release parties have been happening. It's like a global phenomena. So yeah, his first novel in 6 years, The City and Its Uncertain Walls. If I were to convey the plot, it would be hard. So I will just say that this is a novel for lovers of books, obviously, lovers of libraries. It's a love story. It's a quest, an ode to books and to the libraries that house them. So he first started this story 40 years ago, and the beginnings of it are in his collection Hard-Boiled Wonderland and the End of the World, which came out in 1985. So he finally, during the pandemic, felt like he could evolve this story, finish this story, turn this into a novel. So it was a huge bestseller in Japan, where he lives in Tokyo. It's just a really special book. It has ghosts in it. And then this aspect where this character, who's a dream reader, reviewing dreams, and also where shadows in this world called the city can become untethered from oneself. So it's magical, but it is really accessible too. I mean, just from the very beginning, it's enchanting. That's the best word for it for me, enchanting. So highly recommend this. You'll be hearing lots about it. Like I said, it just went on sale yesterday. I'm assuming it will be a huge bestseller here like it was in Japan. So yeah, you have some copies, that's for sure. Lots of copies.
We have lots of copies available. Diesel's big fan of Haruki Murakami for many, many, many years. And so, but I love the way you completely whiffed on plot over there, Liz. It's not, it isn't easily explainable, but that's okay. I think that's part of what's going to make it really, people really love it, because you have to surrender a little bit when you read this book.
I mean, think of Borges or, any of our huge literary, magical writers. That's where
absolutely. But not, obviously not incomprehensible, but it does require a little bit of like letting go, which is great. I think that's a great way to read a book, especially if you're a fan of the author. It's just letting go of preconceptions or the way you want things to be allows you a much deeper read, I think, sometimes. So going to be a big book. This is why we don't have Liz on that often. We have her on only rarely, so she can have like these gigantic books.
I do have really big books right now.
I love that there were midnight parties for this too. That makes me so happy.
Yes, well attended.
Yeah. No, people have been really looking forward to this one. So, thank you, Liz.
Sure.
Right, Shannon, back to you.
Yes, the Murakami is an event for sure. My Instagram, everything was flooded with all of the literary happenings. It's exciting when something like that happens. Okay, well, next up I have a book that I'm super excited about, and I know that Booksellers were super excited about. It feels very LA. Didion and Babbitts by Lily Analik. And I just, as I was on here across my, look at that gorgeous cover. I just saw that it made the Southern California Independent Bookseller, the Kaliba bestseller list for nonfiction #2. So that's exciting. It went on sale last week. So this is Lily Analik has, I'm just going to say, I think she's obsessed. She is obsessed with Eve Babbitts. She wrote a book a while back called Hollywood's Eve. She actually became friends with Eve Babbitts in her quest to like interview her and research her for this book. But after the backstory on this is after Eve passed away, when her kind of squalid apartment was being cleaned out, they found a box of like a pristine box sealed with a treasure trove of diaries and letters, etc. But many of them were sent and unsent letters to Joan Didion. And so this is kind of, a book about a dual biography, if you will, about them and their wild days in the late 60s and early 70s in LA, mainly on Franklin Avenue, but also about how their friendship and then their kind of enemies, and I'm going to call them frenemies. But it was just fascinating. I mean, if you are a fan of either one of them, I feel like you will eat this up. I ate it up. It makes me long. I mean, there's tons of name dropping. It feels kind of People magazine, a little dishy, a little gossipy, but there's so many fans and you can't deny either one of their great, contributions to that time and to literature today. So I'm super excited. It's out in the world. It went, last week it went on sale. And also a November Indie Next selection.
Yes, which that was a definite. I mean, between the two of them, these like powerhouse heavy hitters, right? And here's both of them together. And they're often written about together too, or, as a point counterpoint kind of a thing. And they had this sort of weird, I want to say rivalry, but that's not totally correct, but they were in a way a point counterpoint, but Didion definitely got most of the attention, if not, almost all of the attention. And, but Eve Babbitts had a very like dedicated fan base and sort of like cult status kind of, and I feel like it's sort of gotten bigger with younger women, especially of late.
I feel like she kind of had a resurgence a few years ago.
She's been up for sure.
Always post-mortem. But it's great because she's being read, and the two of them together. This is another one of those books that I read a long time ago and feel like it's been out forever already. And it's really, really well worth reading. Just totally well put together and completely fascinating. Two really, really interesting people. I'm have been Joan Didion fan forever. But reading about the two of them together is great. So another one I highly recommend. I like all your books, Shannon.
Hey. It just really makes you that she paints such a picture of that time and like, wanting to be on the Sunset Strip and Barney's Beanery and like all the Bohea the artist. And I mean,
and there's such quintessential
like crazy things.
They're such quintessential LA writers, as well. So it's great for us, obviously. But for everybody else too. So thank you, Shannon. Another great book.
Thank you.
Back to you, Tom.
I will say that I was obsessed with Lily Analik's podcast Once Upon a Time at Bennington College, which was all about Bret Easton Ellis and Donna Tartt and
Ooh,
was really fun and juicy, and I'm sure like the
that
book.
does sound fun.
It was really
That's I forgot that she did that. I will have to go back and see if I can listen to it. Yeah, such a great writer, but she does have that kind of like dishy. It's a little dishy
yeah.
and fun and backstory about her writing.
Yeah. And I want to throw out another one since you mentioned Tom, and it's your book, so I don't feel bad cutting into your time here. The Friday
Oh,
afternoon,
yeah.
is it Friday afternoon supper
Friday
club?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
Friday
Griffin
afternoon supper club. Yeah, Griffin Dunn, which is I I'm gonna keep plugging this one. I just sold it the other day, actually. Somebody was looking for it. Yeah, that is another like super super dishy memoir by Griffin Dunn, but doesn't read at all like that. It doesn't read gossipy. It's just so great. It's so much fun to read. Thank you, Friday Afternoon Club. Thank you very much, Joey. There's the link. Totally recommend that one as well.
And perfect, you're right, a perfect companion piece here. The two
Yeah.
books go together.
Well, I mean, yeah.
And
Joan Didion being his aunt and everything.
Right. And Griffin Dunn, and this is a plug for tonight. You can stream it, the Allowed event downtown, but you can stream it. It's Griffin Dunn with Susan Minot, whose book Don't Be a Stranger.
I didn't even know that.
I
didn't
didn't
even
either.
know that.
Yeah, I know it because she's in town and we're trying to get her to go places and sign books and all of that.
That's great. And hers is also great.
Yeah.
And you talked about that one last time you were here.
I did.
As well. Right. What's the
of
name of that one again? I'm sorry, Liz.
Don't Be a Stranger.
Don't Be a Stranger. Okay.
Yeah.
See, these are the kinds of fun rabbit holes we go down on Elevenses. Yeah. Just got you a reading list of about 36 books. All right, Tom, go ahead.
Well, and before you stream the Allowed event, you can stream the National Book Awards because the National Book Awards
Is that tonight?
That's tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's tonight. Okay,
so
well,
4 hours. Go from 5 to 7.
Like I might come in and out. I might dip in and out of that.
I'm definitely dipping it. I'm that guy. I'm dipping in and out of the National Book Award.
But who's hosting it again? Sorry.
Kate McKinnon.
Yes. Kate McKinnon.
Sorry? Who?
Kate McKinnon.
That's right, Kate McKinnon. So it's really going to be fun, I think.
And John Batiste is going to be there as well.
Right.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be really.
It's a show.
No, it's gonna be fun. I mean, you don't have to sit at a table, eating chicken for 4 hours, but you can definitely, if you have a link, Joey, you could post that as well. That'd be fun.
And what will Miranda July wear to the awards? That's what I'm mostly waiting to see.
Yeah.
It's so funny trying to make writers glamorous.
Yeah, okay. Well, the reason I bring it up is because my next book is a finalist for the National Book Award. It's Soldiers and Kings by Jason DeLeon. So it's in the nonfiction category, obviously. He is a anthropologist at UCLA and the recipient of the MacArthur Genius Award. And this is a really, again, important, fascinating book that I'm afraid we're going to need to know more about this world than ever before. So he's taken it upon himself to go inside the world of coyotes or smugglers who are smuggling migrants into the U.S. We see them through like more stereotypical or distant eyes. He's taking us up close and personal to these people who are taking advantage, obviously, of the people that they're bringing across, but they're also victims of this larger crisis that's going on of, our insatiable appetite for cheap labor, and political instability, climate change. All of it is fueling what is happening. So he takes us up close, meeting these people, finding out where they come from, what drove them to do what they do. And it's like 7 years of work that is in this book. And so it's great to have another. This came out in March, but it got good, really excellent reviews, obviously, but didn't get a lot of play. So it's nice today, on the day that because I don't think it looks from the looks of the list, it could easily win. I mean, there's no favorite. I mean, I would maybe the Salman Rushdie, but who knows with the National Book Award. So it's good to shine a spotlight on this book, because unfortunately our very near future is going to be about this world, and we need to know more about it. Matthew Desmond, author of Evicted, says, "This is a real one, a work of extraordinary reportage and compassion. Soldiers and Kings takes us deep inside the lives of smugglers guiding desperate migrants across Latin America. One breathtaking scene follows another, rendered in vibrant, unsparing prose, documenting grinding poverty and violence, but also young love and redemption. It will shock you, move you, and leave you changed." So that's Soldiers and Kings by Jason DeLeon.
I think it has a shot, Tom, for sure. And I hope it is, because it's an important book. It's hard reading, but it's completely fascinating.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's really involving. It's not, if you're looking for, as so many people have been in the store for the last couple of weeks, wanting something that is a complete and total escape from anything that's happening. It is definitely not that read.
This might not be that.
Yeah, but when you're but if you really want to get in there and have a real window and insight, it's incredibly insightful and interesting and involving. So fingers crossed for it.
Yeah.
Right. Although it's up against, I mean, there's some other great titles it's up against. But yeah. But we'll see. All right. Thanks, Tom. Henry.
Hello. My second one, super light, super relaxed book. Very chill.
Excellent.
It is called Beyond Molotovs. It is a visual handbook of anti-authoritarian strategies.
And there it is.
You know, this came in and Joey and I were both like, this is a cool book. This is just a very cool looking book and a very topical book. I think it's always a topical book, but it is a kind of just encyclopedia and mix of photography, write-ups, descriptions of different anti-authoritarian movements. I have a list of some of them they've got from India, Iran, Mexico, Poland, Hong Kong, and it's also a widespread of different types of anti-authoritarian movements. So it's things from like activism and protests to sewing collectives to art installations to a couple of things that are a little closer to the Molotov title. But it's just a wide look at a lot of different ways that people kind of resist authoritarian governments, the way that people resist the overreach of imperial empire in their own parts of the world, and how we can all do that together.
What a great idea. I haven't seen this book. But it's sort of like how, because I can't see inside it, and I haven't seen
there aren't very many photos of the inside online.
Okay.
Yeah, and as Joey just said, it's very stylish.
Very stylish, but so the layout is sort of like, is there like a photograph and then description or something like that? So okay.
Yeah, it's basically a coffee table book of resisting the state, essentially.
What a great idea. And so it's a larger format book then. Oh, okay. Oh, that's great.
Joey always coming in with the save.
Always coming in with the save. Always. Nimble. He's quick on the links. This is fantastic. So it's a larger format book then, right, Henry?
Yeah, it is. And so it's, it's somewhere between something like, as a gift for the holidays, but also something that I think is a very interesting thing to take a look at in this
for sure. I wonder why I haven't seen it yet. Well, I'm going to go look for it. I think that this is a definite gift for somebody on your list. But and a hint, I think.
Yeah, great
also
for anyone who's also picking up like Cory Doctorow books.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, excellent. All right, well, I'm going to look for that, Henry. That looks great. Thank you.
Of course.
Liz, we're going to start the final round.
Okay, well, I'm glad to see the interior pages of that book because at first I was like, anarchist cookbook, just kind of
Right,
made
yeah.
me think. But that looks deep and interesting and
Really interesting.
important. So I'm really glad to know about that. So I think we all are always looking during the holidays for that like one book that can please tons of people on our list. And so my final book today is Vanishing Treasures. This is a bestiary of extraordinary endangered creatures. And it is slight. It's 185 pages. It's written by Catherine Rundell, who's a really well-known, huge best-selling children's book author, which I think is a definite asset to writing this book, which are these short chapters or write-ups of, let's see, 23 unusual and underappreciated animals with illustrations. She interweaves folklore, poetry, and certainly science in these descriptions. Each one is maybe 4 to 5 pages. I love seahorses, so I dipped into the seahorse chapter because they're fascinating creatures. I think we all probably know that they're the only animal where the male gives birth. And so she just talks about each of these animals, why they're so fragile. I'm going to read a little part of the seahorse chapter because she's also witty and it's lighthearted. So she's writing about how hard it is for the seahorse to get from place to place, not a fast mover. The back fin beats to and fro up to 50 times a second, but even so, progress is slow and exhausting, akin to standing on roller skates and attempting to propel yourself forward by waving a copy of the UN's terrifying Global Assessment Report on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services. So this is just a little nugget of what she does. But also, this is a book that gives back because she is going to be donating 50% of her royalties to environmental causes and to let's see, she says organizations that push back at climate change and environmental destruction. One land-based charity and one sea-based charity. So I think that is really a lovely thing to do. It's also a November Indie Next pick, and I can't praise it highly enough. It could be given to children, read aloud to children, young adults, grandparents, anybody.
I love this book so much. This is such a great little book. Completely fascinated by it as soon as it came in. And it's a terrific book. And Joey points out she also wrote Impossible Creatures, which came out last month. Was that
that's a big new children's book?
Right. Book. Yeah, which is also just gorgeous. So this is well worth picking up. Absolutely. So a great pick. Thank you, Liz.
Sure.
All right, Shannon, your last book.
Yes, I'm very excited to bring it home with Serviceberry by Robin Wall Kimmerer. I feel like we've been waiting for this one for a really long time, and it feels like the perfect book for this moment, where we might all be struggling a little bit. But Robin Wall Kimmerer is, you guys might remember her from Braiding Sweetgrass, which was, I feel like, a publishing phenomenon. And I didn't realize it's been 10 years since that book came out. This is the first thing.
Wow.
What was that, Deborah?
I can't believe it's been 10 years. That's amazing.
And yeah, and
because
she hasn't
done
anything.
Sounds like a book that just came out,
Yes, it's one of those backlist things that just sells and sells. I mean, you see it in every store you go into, and it's like always stacked up because it just continues to move. So it's been 10 years since she's done anything. Serviceberry, if you've seen it, is not a small book. This is a slight, yes. Oh, you have a copy, yay. I will say it's basically, or almost like an expanded essay. It's small. I want to say it clocks in like all in with the interior illustrations. There's some beautiful artwork in there. Maybe at like 112 pages. It's one of those paper over board books, but and it's only $20. But it's basically about she's using the serviceberry as an example of nature and its gift economy, how the berry gives and how the plants give without the expectation of a receipt, and how we can kind of apply those lessons and a lot of this indigenous wisdom that she talks about into our own lives and gift economy. And it's just beautifully done. It makes you think about a lot of things, and how reciprocity in the natural world and how we can apply it to what we do every day. Like one of her examples is lending libraries. It's like a beautiful meditation. It's a one setting read, but I feel like it's the kind of thing that we should all read. I feel like you can take heart in it. It makes you feel like there's things that are actionable that you can do to change things, especially, you know, when we're all feeling a little bit beaten down, maybe. She is donating all of her proceeds from the book to land trust charities in her local area. And we're very specific. I think that it's printed on like sustainable paper, and using eco-friendly like printers that are prioritizing eco-friendliness. So anyways, it's just it's very exciting to that it's out in the world yesterday. And I think it's one of those things that people will want to buy in stacks and give and share with everyone they know, you know.
So yeah, this is on my stack of like holiday gift recommends. And we have a limited number of these in the stores. It comes with a little bookmark, the book, and as you can see, there's a little leaf here, and this is a little plantable leaf. So it's embedded with seeds. So if you plant the little leaf, it will grow. That's attached to the bookmark, and that comes with the book as long as supplies last, as they say.
Yes,
we got a few of them, but definitely they're just, that's awesome. I love that, and I love the book, and I love that she talks about the little free libraries, of course, with the books, and keeping things local, and just all such fantastic messages. I felt really heartened when I read it. It takes no time at all to read. It's a fantastic gift and a fantastic thing to share with somebody else. And it's just a good feeling. It's not, you know, Pollyanna-ish, one of my favorite adjectives. It's not overly sweet or anything. It just sort of makes you stop and think and go, you know, and understand that still exists, and there's still ways that we can do it, you know, and keep that going, that idea of abundance and reciprocity, like, you know, that she has in the subtitle. Very, very, very important right now, I think.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it felt like a little ray of hopefulness and
absolutely
light in that. And her writing is beautiful.
Her writing's fantastic. And then just for people who like, which is me and probably all of us, books, you know, objects that are lovely to hold, you know, and just look at and have nearby, you know. So it's got that aspect to it as well. So very glad you talked about this one today, Shannon. Another one of my faves, as you know. Yay. So Tom, let's bring it home for the day.
All right. Well, from my first two books, you might expect that I would bring you down after that book. But no, I'm not going to do that. I am going to keep on the same wavelength as Shannon's book, because this is the novelistic companion to that book, I think, which is just out in paperback. It's The Vulnerables by Sigrid Nunez, who is hands down one of our greatest writers. It's just out in paper, perfect for gift giving. The Vulnerables is the third, and it's not exactly a trilogy, but it started with a friend and what are you going through. This is set, well, it starts, the first line is, "It was an uncertain spring." And yes, it was that spring of 2020, very uncertain spring. But somehow, even though, so you're following the narrator as she lives by herself. She's been a friend has given her an apartment in New York to stay in during the pandemic, as the pandemic is just beginning. And most important, besides the apartment, is the parrot named Eureka, because each of these books has an animal that plays a major role. And she is writing these books. These books are about being alive, what it means to be alive, what is meaningful in life, all these things. But they go down so easily. It's all in the voice. It's all in, she is just a master of this. So this book is about, even though I thought I'd never want to go back to that uncertain spring of 2020, this is the rare book that you can go back to that time, and it's such a pleasure to be there with this character, with this voice, with this narrator. And it's very low key, but this is the season of Sigrid Nunez. She has there's 2 films coming out. These books are unfilmable as far as I thought they were unfilmable. But The Friend is coming out with Naomi Watts and Bill Murray, and A Great Dane Named Bing. That's coming out very soon for the holidays. And Pedro Almodovar has made a film of What Are You Going Through, which he's retitled The Room Next Door, and that stars Julianne Moore and Tilda Swinton. So, wow.
I didn't know about either of those 2. That's amazing.
And I think the press will start to ramp up on both of those with those stars. But how great for her that new readers will come to those great career books. And so you should read all 3 for sure. And I'll end with this. She said, the narrator says in the book, "I am writing a novel, therefore I must have hope." So I think that's what we all must have hope, because we're all maybe not writing novels, but we're reading novels, reading books. So let's have hope.
That is really a great note to end on, Tom. So thank you. I do feel like I do feel like books are hopeful. And I do feel in the actual physical bookstore that that there is hope when I'm in the bookstore and people are coming in and people are reading and looking for things, and that you can have someone come in and you can talk with that person about a wonderful book on the Grand Prix, which we had a very spirited discussion about F1 racing, and then he came back the next week and bought Gilgamesh. So this is how it is in the bookstore, and it is hopeful, and we are all reading, and we're going to keep reading, and this just never stops, and this will go on forever. So no matter what, right? Y'all?
Yes. No matter what.
And like now Henry has pointed out, and I might have followed this, Henry, that I'm going to aspire to be, that's right, Liz, right? Only in an indie bookstore are you going to get that. The same guy. And I'm like, I can't wait to see what he's going to come back and pick next week. But Henry, I'm going to aspire now from now on to write in a way that AI cannot copy. And I feel like we should absolutely, that is goals, #goals from here on out. So thank you all for such a wonderful presentation of so many excellent, fantastic books. I really appreciate all of you being here. Liz Camfiord from Random House, Tom Benton from Penguin, Shannon Grant from Simon & Schuster, and Henry from Diesel Brentwood. Thank you all. And of course, Joey. Thank you very much, Joey, for being so nimble on the links. And Amanda Kasser, thank you very much also for providing some links as well. Thanks everybody else for joining us today. And I hope you will come back next week, because we will be here again next week with more books and more reps, more fun book discussion, and more hope. So why not, right? So hopefully we'll see you all again next week. And until then, everybody, happy reading, and hang in there.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.